Hey, good morning, good morning, good morning, and welcome to another installment of Dear Deja. Before we move any forward, please go hit the thumbs up. Please go hit the thumbs up because that's you liking the video, and when you're liking the video, you're letting me know you're here in the Biz Not with me. Okay, also, if you could do me one more favor, stick around. Stick around and get all the commentary because I want to hear your feedback down in the comments. Don't text me, don't inbox me, don't DM me. Give me all your feedback in the comments. All right? Also, if you're a new subscriber, which I'm claiming, please hit the subscribe button so I'll know you're new to the channel and you're here. All right, so let's get it going. Let's get it going. Dear Deja, after 5 years of being unemployed and drowning in sorrows and bills, I finally landed my dream job with an ideal salary and benefits out the ass. I'm happy. I've been here for 3 months and my immediate supervisor, who I absolutely adore, just shared she's resigning and relocating to Florida. It's bittersweet, but I get it. For a month, my department went unsupervised, which is when I decided to step up and show my supervisory skills in an effort to hopefully slide into the supervisor position. Well, Monday, the department's director called a meeting to introduce our department's new supervisor. Unfortunately, they didn't choose me for the position, which I was disappointed, but I also knew that it was a little premature in my thinking because I had not been there that long. What I did not anticipate was my new supervisor, who was transferred from another site, being the same bit me and my cousins fought day in and day out when we were younger, to the point their family had to move because my family was determined to get them in line. She gasped when she saw me. I gagged when I saw her. The meeting went well. The following day, she started scheduling one-on-one meetings with the staff. About 10 minutes into our meeting, I shared with her. She looked familiar and proceeded to tell her how I knew her. Do you know this woman pretended not only not to know me, but also to not remember living in my neighborhood or any of the many fights we had? I knew this woman was lying, but I said to myself, okay, if this bitch want a clean slate, then that's what I'll give her. So in my mind, we're complete strangers working together. What I noticed is this bitch is nitpicking, watching my time, my work attire, my work style, and my work relationships, etc., and commenting on everything. Now, I don't want to believe that she's picking on me, but that's how I'm starting to feel. I don't want to start retaliating and lose my job, but I don't feel comfortable working under someone who has a personal vendetta against me and using it against me professionally. I'm between a rock and a hard place. Send help. Signed, you're not a boss, you're a bully. Ooh. It's so funny because earlier today I was watching TGIF, the show I watch on Fox Soul, and they were talking about work conditions. As a matter of fact, a professor at a school, I think, unalived herself because of being bullied at the workplace. So this is okay, let's heal up, wheel up, bring it back, come rewind and run it back. First of all, let me say to you, congratulations for scoring your new job. I know you're excited about that. And also, from what I understand, you actually like the new job and you want to continue there. You want to grow there. So that's a beautiful thing, being at a job that you like and you see growth for yourself at. Right? At any job site, we're going to have adverse situations. We're going to run into supervisors we don't really get along with. Yada, 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 yada. I've had the experience. So let me take my sip first because I didn't congratulate you already. And let's go back a little bit. So what I can commend you on is you were straightforward. Which I love, right? You didn't want to leave any elephants in the room. So you said, listen, hey, we might know each other, and I can tell you what degree we know each other in. So maybe that's some dialogue you and I need to have so we can get this out the way. Right? And from what I understand, you're saying that this woman is claiming not to know who you are and not to know where she knows you from and so on and so forth. Which, again, I think you possibly would have believed because, like you said, I was going to give her a clean slate and we wasn't even going to talk about it. But the reason why it's an issue is because she seems to be holding it on you at the job, right? Let me say this. I hope and pray that the bullying and the antagonizing that were done when you guys were younger is a lifestyle that's behind you. Because what I do know about the folks that participate in that is that it does always come back to bite them in the ass, because it's something that folks don't forget. Whether you guys know it or not, and I want to say that here, bullying and antagonizing is something that folks do not forget. And if you were the bullier and the antagonizer, it may have easily skipped your mind, because if you bullied that person, you probably bullied plenty more. So you can't keep a tab on all of the folks that you've encountered in your life that you may or may not have bullied. But for those folks who it was happening to, let me say something, and it relates back to, Dear Deja and Operation Heal 100 Hearts. Operation Heal 100 Hearts is a trauma-centered network, and the reason why I came up with this is because I feel like a lot of folks have a lot of traumatic situations that they've been through, which causes them to act and behave in a certain way that may not be conducive to the person that they want to be, right? So what I always share with people is we do not look at what's wrong with you, we look at what happened to you. And in this case, what happened to this woman is she was bullied. That's a level of trauma that can definitely resonate in folks. So let me say that, right? Being bullied can definitely resonate with folks, and it also can cause a level of trauma that folks can carry into their adult lives, and if they're bullied as adults, can carry for the rest of their lives, right? So I think that that's something that you have to keep in mind, is not only is this my supervisor and we had a situation where we were younger. Of course, it wasn't much for you, because it seems like you guys may feel like you got the upper hand, you and your family. So no, it's not a big deal for you, because you weren't the person who was bullied. But for this woman, if what you're saying is the truth, then she may very well be traumatized about what took place when you guys were younger, right? And what I do like is you did approach it head on and say, hey, do you remember that we lived in such and such and we grew up at such and such, and I know you from such and such. That was great, right? That was great, because let's attack the elephant in the room. Let's not pretend, and of course, because you know it, let's acknowledge it. But I want to ask a question, and I would be asking this question in the Heal a Heart session. It's twofold. One part of the question is, did you apologize for any of those behaviors? And the second part is, are you remorseful for them? Because those two go hand in hand, right? I know that some people can feel like, listen, we was younger, I didn't know any better, it happened, move on, right? That's more than likely the feelings of the person who did the antagonizing and the bullying. That is more than likely the feelings of the person. Let me say that again. That is more than likely the feelings of the person who did the antagonizing and the bullying. Because remember, for that person, it's no trauma. It's no trauma, right? I'm just here imposing something on you that makes you uncomfortable. I'm not uncomfortable doing so, right? And if you were uncomfortable doing so, then you would be remorseful. Because then it would be like, I did that because I was young. But, knowing now as an adult, that wasn't a good thing. And I'm sorry. What I see you didn't share in your video, you hear me in your video, in your letter, was that you apologized. You did confront it, which is great, right? Which is great. I love that for you. I love the fact that you're mature enough to face it head on. But the other part about it is, did you apologize for it? And are you remorseful for it? And once again, if you're not remorseful, more than likely you're not going to apologize. And the reason why I asked that is because that's probably part of the reason why she denied even remembering it. Because your approach was, let me make you aware that me and my family used to do this to y'all. But if it wasn't also accompanied with, and I want to apologize for it, why would I want to talk about it? Why would I want to remember it? Why would I want to rehash it with the person who was actually responsible for it? You see what I mean? So I think that if you didn't apologize because you're not remorseful, of course you would be met with, I don't remember that happened, and I don't recall that happened. And I'm not saying it's a good thing for her to do that. I'm just saying that, taking some introspective look at yourself will allow you to see why the comfort wasn't there for me to admit that. You know what I'm saying? And I will also have to once again question, are you sorry and are you remorseful that it happened? We as women, we walk into a space good-hearted, right? We want to be able to say, listen, I'm in a space with other women and I want our relationships to grow and mature and develop in a positive direction. But because we as women all have trauma, we as people, but now I'm speaking to a woman about a woman, we as women, we all have trauma. And most times, because we are emotional creatures, that trauma shows up right up on you in any space that you're in. And I'm a prime example of it. You know what I'm saying? And because of that, we want to always try to, especially when we reach a certain age, either A, heal from the trauma that we've been through, or B, tuck that trauma under the rug and pretend like it never happened. And if you are a person who, because in your letter you said that she gasped when she seen you, right? So if you are a person who, I imposed trauma on another person, right? You're walking into the space more confident than the other, right? Because for you, it was no issue for me to be like, hey girl, remember blase, 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 blah. Of course it would be like, hey girl, remember blase, blase, blah, because in that situation, I had the upper hand. I'm not traumatized for what took place then. But you didn't factor in that you're dealing with a woman that is. So even though both of you lovely ladies showed up in this space with the best intentions, there is a lingering situation that's not allowing you to be your best self. And in this lingering situation, she is the person that suffered, which is why she's not herself. Whereas for you there like, okay, girl, we went through that. Okay, y'all ran up out of there. Okay, but you good now, right? Okay, great. But that's not where she is. Clearly, that's not where she is. Because if it was, then you would not have to try to pry her memory into going back to, listen, this is what happened and this is what took place. And a part of me, like I said, wants to dive a little deeper with you about some of your trauma, if we were in a Healing Heart session, and why this was taking place. I think that, for the most part, you may have learned from that, right? And the reason why I feel like to some degree you did, because you didn't mind approaching her about it. So for you, you're not in a space of, oh, I'm still a bully, or I still want smoke. No, I'm approaching you because I want to clear the air, right? But I think the issue comes in the approach. Right? Because you're approaching this from a space of, I may have done something to you that you didn't like. So let's have some dialogue about it so it doesn't continue. That's very easy. That's also very safe to do. Right? So it's easy for you to walk up to her and be like, hey girl, remember that time me and my cousins beat you in your cousin's ass? Okay, so we cool because of that, because that was a long time ago. Right? What I think you didn't factor in your approach is that it's not as cool and as easy for the other individual. So I think that you needed to be a little bit more strategic and a little bit more compassionate in your approach to addressing this situation, because it doesn't seem like she may be over it. The fact that she gasped when she seen you, that's kind of an indication that, ooh, okay, there may still be something there. Now, granted, I don't know the woman, so I don't want to sit up here and say every night she's going to bed having nightmares about it. No, not at all. But she probably, A, had no intention on seeing you again, or anybody from your family. B, I also didn't imagine seeing this one of these people in this setting. This is my workspace. C, I was caught off guard because I want to forget that, which is kind of what she was trying to act like she did in that space. So now having you here as a memory of all of the trauma that I went through at the hands of you, it presents an issue for me. it reintroduces my trauma. That could have been, let's just say 15, 20 years ago. She may have buried that deep. But seeing you and actually having you confront her about it, it doesn't feel good, because now all of the things that she may have buried deep is now resurfacing. So I don't think, before we even get to her performance at the job, I think we need to scale all the way back to your approach. Because in the letter, what you said was, I approached her about it and I reminded her of it. But where was the compassion in doing so? And I think that, of course, it is a little hard for folks to acknowledge and apologize for things that they did in the past. I know that all too well. So it's like, girl, that was 20 years ago. Girl, that was 15 years ago. Girl, we was kids. So for you, it could seem like, well, it's not that deep. It's not that serious. But once again, you're also the quote-unquote bullier and antagonizer. So for you, it wasn't that deep. And for you, it wasn't that serious. And for you, that happened was because when we was kids, so let's move past it. But she may not have that same sentiment regarding the situation. So your approach needed to be more compassionate, and on top of that, more apologetic. Because what you acknowledged in the letter was that, you and your family definitely held it on her. You and your family, so to speak, made her family so much so get under the wing that they were forced to relocate. You don't know what that relocation did to that family. You don't know where they moved. You don't know what they suffered through after they moved. You don't know what they were suffering through living there. Because, at the end of the day, you guys were younger and that wasn't your responsibility to care. But it is also something that happened. And it's clearly something that can't just be swept under the rug or forgotten about, because now it's manifesting in all of the actions and behaviors with this person as an adult, according to you. Right? So that's just playing one side of it, right? The one side of it is you thinking about, okay, she's still holding on to this, and therefore she's treating me bad at work because she got some outside and some external and some past things that she has with me that she doesn't want to confront. Okay, that's one part of it, right? The other part of it is, could you be imagining that these things are taking place? And my next question after I ask that would be, is some of the what you call nitpicking valid? Right? So I know you said that she's studying your work relationships, your work attire, aren't those some of the things that supervisors do pay attention to? Aren't those some of the things that supervisors meet with you about? Aren't those some of the things that, if it's done incorrectly, a supervisor tries to help you correct? So my other question would be, I'm not denying that she's nitpicking, but before you go chalking it up to that may be happening because she have a personal vendetta because what took place when we were younger, let's just see if some of the nitpicking has some validity. So the first thing that I would suggest is, before you go back into the whole this is personal and so on and so forth, let's just think about what she's nitpicking at and see if it has any merit to it, right? So I know one of the things you said is you feel like she's watching or paying attention to, or maybe spoke to you about, I don't know, you didn't say that part, your work attire. If you are dressed professionally, that's not something that she can nitpick on. Right? So if you're dressed professionally, it's one thing to say she's nitpicking because she's saying I'm dressed unprofessionally, and that's not the truth. Or you're not always dressed professionally and she's calling you out on it, and you feel like she's nitpicking because for you, that could be something little and minute that she should just disregard. So we were in a Healing Heart session. Those would be the two things that I would be asking you about. I would be asking, A, is it that, you didn't address her properly when trying to have the conversation about the bullying from the past. Maybe you didn't address it with any compassion. Maybe you weren't apologetic about it. That would be the first part of it. The second part of it is looking at what you consider as nitpicking and see if it has any validity to it. So I think it should be like, okay, well, not only are you looking at my work attire, you're looking at my work relationships. So that means that how you're congregating and how you're having discussions and how you're moving with work staff. If that's done professionally, she can't nitpick at it. She may not be a fan of it because maybe, let's just say, you guys' personalities are different. Like, case in point, for me at my job, right? For folks that I have relationships with, I'm very open, I'm very honest, I'm very flamboyant, I'm very boisterous, I'm very talkative, right? But for folks I don't have a relationship with, they get a whole different side of me. Now, both ways are still done professionally, right? Because at the end of the day, I'm at work and I have a job to do. You know what I'm saying? Now, folks may not like that I'm more friendlier with other staff members than I am with them, or they may not like I'm more talkative with other staff members than I am with them. That's one thing, right? That's, a luxury, right? That's a luxury for me to be talkative and friendly with you at work. But the necessity is for me to do my job. And I'm doing my job professionally as I'm mandated to do. Right? So if you're getting upset because I'm not friendly and talkative with you, then you are nitpicking because that's not something that I'm mandated to do. I'm mandated to do my job, which I am doing. I'm just not carrying you in the same regard that I would carry a person that I have a personal relationship with. Right? So like I said, we have to go all the way back, scale all the way back to what you claim she's nitpicking at. Right? Because you need to be able to have that approach if you want to address the situation. So part A of addressing it is you probably could go back in and say, hey, you know what? Listen, the last time I approached you about this, you shared with me that you had no memory of it, right? And while I understand that, and it's a beautiful thing that you were able to bury those memories, I still want to offer up an apology. I still want to offer up an apology because it was not my intention, to hurt you. I was young, I was immature, this is what my family was used to, so on and so forth. But whichever way you can show that, I have compassion for what took place, and I don't want this to continue in an adult space, right? That's one way to approach it. Afterwards, once you approached it in that manner and you still feel she wasn't receptive to that, and because of what took place when you guys were young, she's now nitpicking at you, you have to go through the nitpicking with a fine-tooth comb, because you have to be able to debunk whatever she's saying you're doing as a supervisor. Whatever she feels about you personally, you can't change that. So if you apologize 20, 30, 40 times sincerely on your knees with a bouquet of roses and a freaking free vacation, she may still view you as the same bitch that bullied her when she was younger. You cannot change that. But as long as professionally you're holding up your end of the bargain, what she feels cannot affect you. Okay? And I know that to be true because I actually worked in an adverse work setting, right? A couple of years ago, I worked under a supervisor who developed a disdain for me because she was a lunatic, because I had not done anything to this woman. But I do realize that my personality can sometimes offend folks, right? So I think because I was so good at what I did and I was so confident and how good I am at what I did, that she felt I was a threat to her, right? So she began to do little things to show that she wasn't very fond of me, and she was my supervisor. Once I caught on that, we're no longer in a space where I can be personal and friendly with you because you're not my friend. You're my supervisor. I then retreated into my shell and I conducted business as usual because I'm at work. So much so that her nitpicking couldn't stick because she had no validity. It was only your opinion and what you feel. You didn't have anything documented or legal or anything unprofessional that I had done to give your claim validity. It was only because you didn't like me. What the fuck that got to do with us working? So I think for you, you kind of approach the situation if I'm correct in a wrong way. And the reason why I'm saying this is because in your letter, you just shared that you reminded her of some of the changes y'all went through. You never not once said, well, I had to let her know, you know what I'm saying? I know we went through stuff when I was younger, but I want to send I want to share that I apologize, and that's when we was young, and I want to let the past be the past. And, you basically said because she didn't acknowledge that she remembered that you were giving her a clean slate. If you were the bullier and you were the antagonizer, is she the person that needs a clean slate, or is it you? Why would I need a clean slate when I didn't do anything to you? I think, my dear, you need a clean slate to make sure you're not going to continue with those behaviors towards me. And I think that she wasn't sure if you would continue with those behaviors or if you even felt you did anything wrong, because when you approached her, you only reminded her. You didn't offer up any sincerity. You didn't offer up an apology. You didn't offer up any compassion about what she went through when you guys were younger. Right? So that's part A of it. Part B of it is that, okay, now that you have offered up some sincerity, some compassion, and a genuine apology, you're moving forward. Any behaviors that take place moving forward that you're reprimanded about, you just have to make sure that they have some validity to them and they're professional and they're not coming from a space of, oh, I'm just doing this to you because I don't like you. You don't have to. We have to work together. But if the things that she is approaching you about are things that your feet could be held to the fire for, you can't be upset with her, and you can't blame that on what we had in the past, because I'm stating facts that show what you're doing right here in the present. And I'm showing what you're doing here at work because I supervise you, and that's what supervisors do. They help you to correct incorrect behaviors. They help you to be effective and productive at the job that you're doing. And if you're not, they hold your feet to the fire in the process of doing so. And sometimes you get written up, and the worst case scenario, you get fired. But that all will have to be based off the validity of what they're claiming that you did, not what they feel that you've done because they just don't like you. Right, my dear? So let's talk about moving forward. But before we do that, let's talk about your Operation Heal 100 Hearts 101 session, because you definitely need the 101 session. We need to sit down. We need to talk about, okay, listen, this is what took place. And I want to offer her, Khadija, a sincere apology. And then we will talk about the wording of that. But before we even get to that apology, we will talk about how remorseful you are about what took place, which in turn, before we would talk about you having any remorse, we will talk about why you were even doing that in the first place. What was going on in your life? What was happening with you as a young person? Where did that come from? So first, we would have to scale all the way back to your childhood and your trauma. And then we will have to help you process all of that so you can make sure you're not inflicting it on anybody else moving forward. But that's an Operation Heal 100 Heart session. So I plan on seeing you. Because we have some trauma to work through. You're an adult. You're an adult in a professional setting. And you're an adult in a professional setting that you see growth. You see there's opportunity and room for growth there for you. You do not want that to be hindered because of your trauma. Okay? So we need to get down to the nitty gritty and work through it. We can only do so in your Operation Heal 100 Heart sessions. So, ladies and gentlemen, we have reached the end of this Dear Deidre, and my homegirl is going to come and see me so we can get cracking on these sessions so you can grow in your professional life, and I can look up and say, my girl's the CEO now because she dealt with her shit. All right. So I'm hoping and praying that you come sooner than later. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you. Thank you so much for tuning in. As much as you love Dear Deidre, I love Dear Deidre. Continue submitting your letters. I see all of them. I'm going through all of them. I'm going to answer all of them. And I appreciate you so much. I don't care how you submit them. I just got 2 letters via DM. I'll take it. It doesn't have to be emailed all the time as long as I receive it. I appreciate you guys' support, and I love you so much. Right now, you should have already hit the thumbs up. you should have already hit the thumbs up. Okay? Okay. You should also be right now leaving your commentary in the comment section about the feedback that I just gave to this Dear Deidre. And if you're new here, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel. And more importantly, make sure you copy this URL and you go and paste it to a friend and ask them to subscribe as well. I appreciate the support so much, and Dear Deidres will continue as long as I'm around. Welcome to Operation Heal 100 Hearts YouTube channel, and thank you guys again.